My name is Margaret. For most of my life, I believed one simple thing. Family is where you are safe. I believed that no matter how bad life gets, there is always a door that will open for you if you belong there. That belief shattered on the night I stood outside a house I once called home. The street was quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that makes your thoughts sound louder than your footsteps. I held a small travel bag in my right hand. My left hand was shaking as I reached for the door. The door was locked. I stared at it, confused. This was the house I was told to come to. This was the house where I was promised love. This was the house where the door was never supposed to be closed to me. I knocked. Once. Nothing. I knocked again, harder. Still nothing. That was when fear started creeping into my chest. Slowly. Quietly. Like something crawling under my skin. Before I continue, if you enjoy emotional, powerful stories like this one, please subscribe to this channel. Like this video, turn on the notification bell, and tell me in the comments which part of the country you are watching from. Stories like this remind us that we are not alone. Now listen closely. Because what happened after that knock shocked everyone involved. I tried the door handle again, hoping maybe I imagined it the first time. Locked. My heart sank. I stepped back and looked through the window. The lights were on. The living room was bright. I could clearly see shadows moving inside. I could hear voices. Laughter. People were home. They just were not opening the door. My mouth went dry. My mind started racing. Maybe they didn't hear me. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they don't want me here. I pushed that last thought away quickly. It hurt too much to think about. I knocked again. This time, I used my knuckles hard enough that my hands stung. The laughter inside stopped. Suddenly, everything went quiet. I heard footsteps. Slow footsteps. Careful footsteps. Someone was coming to the door. I straightened my coat and forced a small smile onto my face. I wanted to look calm. I wanted to look welcome. I wanted to look like I belonged. The door opened just a little. A face appeared. Not smiling. Not happy. But shocked. The kind of shock you see when someone shows up who is not supposed to. "Why are you here?" the person asked. Those words hit me harder than a slap. Before I could answer, the door opened wider. And that was when I saw the room. The living room was full of people. Some were sitting on the couch. Some were standing near the wall. All of them were staring at me. No one said my name. No one smiled. No one said, "Come in." The room fell silent, like all the air had been sucked out. I stood there holding my bag, my heart pounding so loud I was sure they could hear it. My legs felt weak. My throat felt tight. I had shown up at the house to find the door locked. And now that I was inside, I realized something even worse. I was not expected. I was not wanted. Someone finally spoke. "You should have called first," a sharp voice said. "I did," I replied quietly. "I sent a message." No one answered that. Their eyes followed me like I was an intruder, like I had broken into a place that wasn't mine. But to understand why this hurts so much, you need to know what led me here. Weeks earlier, my life had already started falling apart. I had been living alone for a long time. I tried to stay strong. I tried to manage everything by myself. But things became hard. Money was tight. My body was tired. Some mornings, even getting out of bed felt like a battle. Asking for help was not easy. I remember sitting on my bed, holding my phone, staring at the screen for a long time before pressing call. "I just need a little help," I said softly when the call was answered. "Just for a while." There was a pause. Then I heard the words that filled me with hope. "Come stay with us," they said. "You are family." Family. That word made me cry after the call ended. They told me the door would always be open. They told me I would be safe. They told me I would never be alone again. So I packed my things. Not much. Just clothes. Old photos. Small memories from a life I had lived quietly. On the day I was supposed to arrive, something unexpected happened. I had to turn back. Plans changed. I sent a message saying I would come later than planned. No reply came. I thought nothing of it. I trusted them. That trust brought me to that locked door. Now back in the living room, someone stood up from the couch. Slowly. Carefully. They walked toward me. The room felt smaller with every step they took. My heart was racing. My hands were cold. I looked into their eyes, searching for kindness. I didn't find any. They stopped in front of me. And then they said something so shocking. Something that made my legs feel weak. Something that told me that the locked door was only the beginning of my pain. And I will stop here. Because what they said next is something you will not believe. And when you hear it, you will understand why walking into that house changed everything. The words hit me like a cold slap. You can't stay here. For a moment, I thought I heard wrong. The room was quiet, but my ears were ringing. I looked around, hoping someone would laugh and say it was a joke. No one did. Every face around me looked stiff, serious, closed. I don't understand, I said slowly. You told me to come. The person standing in front of me crossed their arms. That was before. Things have changed. Changed. That one word crushed my chest. I looked down at my small bag, the one holding all I had left of my life. Suddenly, it felt heavier than ever. Changed how? I asked. No one answered right away. Instead, someone else spoke from the couch. This house is full now. There's no space. I turned toward the couch. The living room looked big enough. People were sitting comfortably. There were empty chairs. Empty corners. Space everywhere. But not for me. I can sleep anywhere, I said quickly. The couch is fine. Even the floor. I won't be a problem. The words came out before I could stop them. And the moment I said them, I felt ashamed. I hated that I was begging. The person in front of me shook their head. That's not the point. Then what is the point? I asked, my voice shaking. Silence again. I could feel tears building in my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not in front of everyone. Not like this. Someone stood up from the corner of the room. They walked closer, speaking in a low voice, like they didn't want the others to hear. You should have stayed where you were, they said. Stayed where I was. I almost laughed. Where exactly was that? The empty apartment I could no longer afford? The place where I sat alone for days without anyone checking on me? You said I wasn't alone anymore, I whispered. No one responded. That was when I noticed something strange. A suitcase. It was standing near the wall. Big. New. Not mine. I stared at it. Who's that for? I asked. The room shifted. People looked away. Someone cleared their throat. That's none of your concern, the sharp voice said. My heart skipped. Something was wrong. Very wrong. I looked around again, slowly this time. I noticed details I had missed before. Extra coats on the chair. Shoes by the door that didn't belong to the people I expected to see. A photo frame on the shelf that was turned face down. My stomach tightened. Is someone else moving in? I asked. No one answered. Then quietly someone said, they already did. My breath caught. So, I was replaced. I asked. That's not fair, someone snapped. You don't get to say that. But it's true, isn't it? I replied. You told someone else to come before I even arrived. Still no answer. I felt like I was shrinking right there in the middle of the room. Like I was disappearing. I just needed time, I said softly. I thought family would understand. The person in front of me sighed deeply, like I was exhausting them. You should have been more independent. Independent. I had been independent my whole life. I worked. I sacrificed. I gave. I stayed quiet. I stayed strong. And now, when I finally needed help, I was being judged for it. I raised children, I said. I took care of people before they could take care of themselves. Someone laughed under their breath. Things are different now, another voice said. You can't expect people to stop their lives for you. That was when the tears fell. I couldn't stop them anymore. They rolled down my face slowly, silently. I wiped them away quickly, embarrassed. I'm not asking anyone to stop their life, I said. I'm just asking for a place to breathe. The person near the door looked at their watch. We've talked enough, they said. You should go. Go. Just like that. No hug. No apology. No explanation. Where? I asked. They shrugged. That's not our problem. The room started spinning. My legs felt weak. I held on to my bag like it was the only thing keeping me standing. Then something happened that made everything worse. A child walked into the room. Small. Curious. Innocent. They looked at me and frowned. Who's that? No one answered. The child pointed at me. Why is she crying? I opened my mouth to speak, but before I could, someone pulled the child away and whispered, "Don't worry about her." Her. Not my name. Not family. Just her. I turned toward the door, my chest burning. Every step felt heavy. As I reached for the handle, someone spoke again. Leave the bag. I froze. What? I asked. You can't bring that in here, they said. I'm leaving, I replied. Why can't I take my bag? They stepped closer. Because that bag doesn't belong here. Something snapped inside me. That bag is all I have, I said firmly. The room went quiet again. Then the person grabbed the bag. We both held on to it. For a second, time stopped. I looked into their eyes and saw something cold. Something I had never seen before. And then, they pulled hard. The bag slipped from my hands. It hit the floor. The zipper broke open. And everything inside spilled out in front of everyone. My clothes. My papers. My old photos. My life. People stared. Someone picked up a photo and frowned. Why do you still have this? I rushed forward. Don't touch that. But it was too late. They were already looking. Already judging. Already deciding something without me. And then one of them said something that made my heart stop completely. Wait. You don't know, do you? I looked up, confused and afraid. Know what? I asked. They exchanged looks. And then someone said the words that changed everything. Words that made my knees buckle. Words that told me the locked door was never the real problem. And I will stop here. Because what they revealed next was far worse than being locked out. The room felt like it was closing in on me. What are you talking about? I asked, my voice barely louder than a whisper. No one answered right away. They just stood there, looking at one another, passing silent messages with their eyes. That scared me more than shouting ever could. Say it, I said. Whatever it is, just say it. The person holding my photo slowly turned it over. Their face changed the moment they saw it clearly. Not anger. Not disgust. Fear. This wasn't supposed to be found, they said. My heart started pounding so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. Found. I repeated. It's my photo. Why shouldn't I have it? They swallowed hard and placed it back on the table like it was something dangerous. That picture should have been thrown away a long time ago, another voice said. Thrown away? I shook my head. That picture is from my past. It's my memory. Someone laughed bitterly. Exactly. I looked at the photo lying on the table. It was old. Faded. A younger version of me stood in the picture, smiling, holding someone's hand. "Who is that with you?" someone asked quietly. My throat tightened. "That's someone I loved." The room went silent again. Then, slowly, one person sat down, rubbing their face like they were tired. "You really don't know," they said. "Know what?" I asked again, my voice rising. "Why does everyone keep saying that?" The person looked up at me, eyes heavy. "About the house." My stomach dropped. "The house," I repeated. "What about it?" Another person stepped forward. "You think you were invited here because you're family?" "Yes," I said. "Because that's what I was told." They shook their heads slowly. "That's not the whole reason." I felt dizzy. I grabbed the back of a chair to steady myself. "Then tell me the reason," I demanded. There was a long pause. Finally, someone spoke the truth out loud. "This house is in your name." The words didn't make sense at first. "My name?" I asked. "That's impossible." "No," they said quietly. "It's very possible." My ears rang. My mind raced. "That can't be right," I said. "I don't own this house." "You do," they replied. "And you have for years." I shook my head again and again. "You're lying." "I wish we were," someone else said. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath my feet. "Then why?" I asked slowly. "Was I locked out?" No one answered that question. Instead, the person who first grabbed my bag spoke again. "Because we didn't think you would come back." The room spun. "You thought I would never show up," I said. They nodded. "You planned this," I whispered. Another silence. Then someone said, "We were going to fix it." "Fix it? How?" I asked. They looked away. "That's not important right now," someone muttered. "It is to me," I snapped. "Tell me everything." The truth came out slowly, like poison dripping one drop at a time. Years ago, when my life was busy and full, papers had been signed. Decisions had been made. I trusted people to handle things for me. I didn't read everything carefully. I trusted family. The house was placed in my name for safekeeping. That's what they told me back then. They said it would protect everyone. They said it was only temporary. But temporary became permanent. And somewhere along the way, they forgot. Or maybe they hoped I would. "So you let me struggle," I said, my voice shaking. "You watched me live alone, barely surviving, while I owned this place?" No one denied it. Someone finally spoke. "You didn't ask." That was when something inside me broke. "I didn't know." I shouted. "You never told me." The child peeked back into the room again, sensing the tension. "What's happening?" the child asked. No one answered. I wiped my face and straightened my back. A strange calm came over me. The kind of calm that comes right before a storm. "So let me get this straight," I said slowly. "You locked me out of my own house." The words hung in the air. No one corrected me. No one apologized. Instead, someone said, "We thought it would be easier." Easier for who? For us, they admitted. My heart ached, but anger was starting to rise. "You were ready to send me away," I said, while standing in a house that legally belongs to me. The person near the door crossed their arms. "We've lived here for years. You can't just walk in and take over." "I didn't come to take anything," I replied. "I came because I was invited." "You were invited so we could talk," they said. "Talk about what?" I asked. They hesitated. "About you signing it over." The room went silent again. "You want me to give this house away?" I said slowly. "Yes," someone answered. "That's why we didn't want you here tonight." My hands started shaking. "So you planned all of this," I said. "The locked door. The surprise. The pressure." They didn't deny it. "That's why there are people here," someone added. Witnesses. Witnesses. I laughed softly, but there was no joy in it. You turned my family into a meeting. The suitcase by the wall suddenly made sense. That suitcase, I said. It's for me, isn't it? No one answered. I was supposed to leave, I whispered. Someone nodded. My chest felt like it was being crushed. I walked slowly to the table and picked up my photo. I looked at the younger woman in it. Strong. Hopeful. Trusting. I trusted you, I said. No one looked at me. Then something unexpected happened. A knock came at the door. Everyone froze. Who is that? Someone whispered. No one was expecting anyone else. The knocking came again. Louder. Urgent. I felt a chill run through me. Because whoever was outside was about to change the balance of power in that room. And I will stop here. Because when that door opened, nothing would ever be the same again. The knock came again. 3 sharp knocks. Not gentle. Not polite. Demanding. Everyone in the room froze. No one moved. No one spoke. Even the child went quiet, holding on to someone's leg. The sound of the knocking echoed through the house, bouncing off the walls like a warning. Who is that? Someone whispered. I don't know, another voice replied, shaky. My heart was pounding, but unlike before, this time it wasn't fear alone. There was something else mixed in now. Something heavy. Something powerful. The knock came again, louder than before. Open the door, a deep voice called from outside. That voice didn't sound lost. It didn't sound unsure. It sounded confident. The person closest to the door looked at the others, waiting for someone else to decide. No one did. Finally, they turned the handle. The door opened. A man stood there, tall and serious, holding a folder under his arm. He looked around the room slowly, taking everything in, the faces, the tension, the scattered items on the floor. Good evening, he said calmly. I'm sorry to arrive unannounced. No one answered. He stepped inside and closed the door behind him. I was told there might be a situation here tonight, he continued. My heart skipped. Who told you? Someone asked sharply. He looked straight at me. She did. Every eye in the room turned toward me. What? I said, confused. I didn't call anyone. He frowned slightly. Then someone using your name did. The room erupted into murmurs. That's impossible, someone said quickly. She just arrived. The man opened his folder and pulled out papers. I received a message earlier today asking me to come by this address. It was marked urgent. The person who had grabbed my bag earlier went pale. This is a private family matter, they said. You shouldn't be here. The man remained calm. I'm here because my job is to protect legal interests. Legal. That word made the room tense again. I believe, he continued, that there has been some confusion about ownership of this property. Silence fell like a heavy blanket. My heart raced. Who are you? I finally asked. My name is Daniel, he said. I'm a property representative. I felt dizzy again. You brought a lawyer? Someone snapped, turning toward me. I didn't, I replied honestly. I swear. Daniel looked around the room. May I ask who currently lives here? Hands slowly went up. More than one. And who invited them? He asked. People looked at each other. No one answered. Daniel nodded slowly, like he already knew the answer. According to these documents, he said, lifting the papers, this house belongs to one person. He paused. Margaret. The room exploded. That's not fair, someone shouted. She doesn't even live here, another yelled. We've been paying the bills, someone else argued. Daniel raised his hand. Please. One at a time. I stood there, frozen, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. This can't be happening, I whispered. Daniel turned to me. Ma'am, were you aware that this property was registered under your name? No, I said softly. I wasn't. He nodded. That's not uncommon when trust is involved. I felt my throat tighten. One person stepped forward angrily. She knew. She just wants to take the house now. I looked at them, hurt burning in my chest. If I wanted to take anything, I wouldn't have knocked. The room went quiet again. Daniel cleared his throat. Whether intentional or not, the fact remains. This property is legally hers. The suitcase by the wall suddenly became the center of the room. Daniel glanced at it. Is someone moving out? No one answered. I swallowed hard. That was meant for me. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Without her consent. Someone muttered. We were going to explain. Explain after she signed, Daniel replied. That silence was louder than shouting. I felt my knees weaken, and I slowly sat down on a chair. So all of this, I said quietly, was planned. No one denied it. Daniel turned to me again. Do you feel safe here tonight? That question hit me hard. I looked around the room. At the faces that avoided my eyes. At the people who locked me out. At the suitcase that was ready before I even arrived. No, I said honestly. I don't. Daniel nodded. Then I strongly advise you not to sign anything tonight. Sign? I asked, my head snapping up. One person spoke quickly. We prepared documents. Just in case. My heart sank. Where are they? Daniel asked. Reluctantly, someone handed him an envelope. He opened it and scanned the pages. This is a transfer of ownership, he said plainly. Permanent. I felt sick. You were going to take my house, I whispered. Someone shouted back. We live here. And I trusted you, I replied. The child started crying. The tension was too much. Daniel closed the folder. This meeting is over. You can't just, someone began. I can, he interrupted. And I will. He turned to me. You have every right to stay here tonight. Or to leave. That choice is yours. I looked at the door. I looked at the suitcase. I looked at the faces that once meant family. I need air, I said. As I stood up, someone blocked my path. You're not leaving with him, they said. Daniel stepped forward immediately. Move. The person hesitated. Slowly, they stepped aside. I walked toward the door, my legs shaking, my heart racing. Just as I reached for the handle, someone behind me shouted. If you walk out, don't come back. I stopped. My hand hovered over the door. Because I knew something they didn't. Walking out was not running away. It was the beginning of taking my power back. And I will stop here. Because what I did next turned everything upside down. I stood there with my hand on the door handle, feeling every eye on my back. If you walk out, don't come back. Those words were meant to scare me, to trap me, to make me feel small again. Slowly, I turned around. I wasn't planning to, I said calmly. The room fell silent. That calm in my voice surprised even me. Inside, my heart was still pounding, but something had shifted. For the first time that night, I was no longer begging. I was deciding. Daniel stepped closer to me. Would you like me to stay with you tonight? He asked quietly. I shook my head. No. I need to think. Someone laughed bitterly. See. She doesn't even want the house. I looked straight at them. I want respect. They looked away. I opened the door and stepped outside. The cold night air hit my face, and for the first time since arriving, I could breathe. Daniel followed me out and closed the door behind us. Where will you go? He asked. I don't know yet, I admitted. But I won't stay where I'm not safe. He nodded. That's wise. I walked down the steps slowly. Halfway down, I stopped. Daniel, I said. Thank you. You don't owe anyone anything, he replied. Remember that. I nodded and continued walking until the house was behind me. That night, I didn't sleep. I stayed at a small place with thin walls and a loud heater. I lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, replaying everything in my mind. The locked door. The suitcase. The papers. And the truth. By morning, my sadness had turned into something else. Clarity. At sunrise, my phone buzzed. A message. We need to talk. I didn't reply. Then another message came. You can't just disappear. Disappear. That word made me laugh softly. I had been disappearing for years, and no one noticed. I sat up in bed and made a decision. I called Daniel. Good morning, he said. I'm ready, I told him. For what? He asked. To understand everything, I replied. And to protect myself. There was a pause. Then he said, I'll meet you in an hour. When we met, he laid everything out clearly. Dates. Documents. Names. Signatures. The truth was worse than I imagined. Not only was the house in my name, but other things were too. Accounts. Responsibilities. Decisions made without my knowledge. They used your trust, Daniel said gently. And your silence. My hands shook as I read the papers. They were waiting for me to sign it all away, I whispered. Yes, he replied. Tonight. I closed my eyes. So what do I do now? I asked. Daniel leaned back. You stop being quiet. That afternoon, I returned to the house. Not alone. We arrived together. Daniel walked beside me, calm and steady. I felt small again for a moment as the house came into view, but only for a moment. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again. The door opened quickly this time. You? Someone said, shocked. Yes, I replied. Me. Daniel stepped forward. We need to speak. The living room filled again. Faces tight. Arms crossed. I'm not here to fight, I said. I'm here to be clear. Someone scoffed. About what? About boundaries, I replied. Daniel placed a folder on the table. This house, he said calmly, belongs to her. Someone snapped. We know that. Then you also know, Daniel continued, that what you attempted last night was illegal. The room went silent. You forged urgency, he said. You applied pressure. You created fear. I didn't force her, someone argued. You locked her out, Daniel replied. I felt my chest tighten. I trusted you, I said softly. And you used that trust against me. Someone slammed their hand on the table. So what now? You kick us out. I shook my head. No. They looked surprised. I want fairness, I continued. I want honesty. And I want time. Time. That word changed the room. Daniel explained the next steps. Clear rules. Clear boundaries. Temporary arrangements. But not ownership. Never ownership. Someone glared at me. You think you've won? I looked at them steadily. No. I think I've just started standing. As we turned to leave, someone whispered something cruel behind my back. I stopped. I turned around one last time. You locked me out of a house that belongs to me, I said. But you will never lock me out of my own life again. No one replied. That night, my phone rang again. A different number. I answered slowly. Hello. A voice I hadn't heard in years spoke my name. And what they said next made my heart stop. I will stop here. Because that phone call changed everything I thought I knew about the past. Hello. I said again, my voice careful. There was a pause on the other end of the line. I could hear breathing. Slow. Heavy. Like the person was gathering courage. It's me, the voice finally said. My heart skipped. I hadn't heard that voice in years, but I knew it immediately. Some voices never leave you. They stay buried inside, waiting for the right moment to rise again. I don't think you should be calling me, I said quietly. I know, the voice replied. But you need to hear this. I sat down slowly on the edge of the bed. My legs felt weak. Hear what? I asked. The truth, they said. I closed my eyes. Go on, I whispered. There was another pause. Then the words came out, slow and heavy. They planned everything. My chest tightened. I already know that, I said. They tried to take the house. No, the voice replied. I mean long before that. I gripped the phone harder. How long? I asked. Years, they said. Since the day the papers were signed. My mouth went dry. You were there? I asked. Yes. That one word felt like a punch. Why didn't you tell me? I demanded, my voice breaking. Because I was scared, they said. And because I thought it would never go this far. Silence filled the line. Then they continued. They said you didn't need to know. That you trusted them. That you wouldn't ask questions. Tears burned my eyes. And you agreed? I asked. I stayed quiet, the voice admitted. That was my mistake. I felt anger rising again. Not sharp anger. Heavy anger. The kind that sits in your chest and makes it hard to breathe. They let me struggle, I said. They watched me suffer. I know, the voice replied softly. I hated myself for it. I swallowed hard. Why call now? I asked. Because what they're doing now is worse, they said. My heart pounded. What do you mean? I asked. They're planning to move fast, the voice warned. They're scared you won't sign. They should be scared, I said. That's not all, the voice continued. They're talking about selling the house. The room started spinning. Selling it. I repeated. Without my permission. They think they can pressure you, the voice said. Or wear you down. I closed my eyes tightly. They're wrong, I said firmly. I know, the voice replied. That's why I'm calling. I want to help. I took a deep breath. Why should I trust you now? I asked. There was a long silence. Because I'm ready to tell everything, the voice said. And because I can prove it. My heart raced. How? I asked. I have copies, they said. Messages. Emails. Old documents. I sat up straight. You kept them? I asked. I never deleted them, the voice said. I didn't know why at the time. I just couldn't. A strange mix of pain and relief washed over me. When can we meet? I asked. Tomorrow, they replied. Somewhere safe. Send me the details, I said. They agreed, and the call ended. I stared at my phone for a long time after that. The past was catching up. The next morning, I met Daniel again and told him everything. He listened carefully, his face serious. This changes things, he said. A lot. Is it enough? I asked. If the evidence is real, he replied, it's more than enough. We chose a quiet place to meet the caller. Somewhere public. Somewhere safe. When the person arrived, I almost didn't recognize them. Time had changed us both. They looked tired. Older. Nervous. I'm glad you came, they said softly. So am I replied, though my heart was racing. They handed Daniel a small folder. Inside were printed emails, messages, notes, dates that matched everything Daniel had shown me. My name appeared again and again, without my consent, without my knowledge. This proves intent, Daniel said after reviewing it. This proves planning. The person nodded. They talked about waiting until you were desperate. My hands trembled. Desperate enough to sign, I whispered. Yes, they replied. I felt sick. And the suitcase? I asked. Was that planned too? The person looked away. Yes. I closed my eyes. That was meant to scare you, they admitted. To make you feel unwanted. Daniel clenched his jaw. That crosses a line, he said. The person looked at me with tears in their eyes. I'm sorry. I studied their face. I don't forgive you yet, I said honestly. But I believe you. They nodded, accepting that. As we stood to leave, my phone buzzed again. Another message. We need to resolve this now. I showed it to Daniel. They're panicking, he said. Good, I replied. But then another message came. This one shorter. Colder. If you don't cooperate, things will get ugly. My stomach dropped. What does that mean? I asked. Daniel looked at the message carefully. It means they're losing control, he said. And people like that often do reckless things. I felt a chill run through me. That evening, as I returned to my room, I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The door to my room was slightly open. I was sure I had locked it. Slowly, I pushed it open. Everything looked normal at first. Then I saw it. My bag. The same bag that had been ripped open in the living room. It was sitting on the bed. I hadn't brought it back with me. My heart started pounding. Someone had been inside. And whoever it was wanted me to know they could reach me. I will stop here. Because what happened next was not just emotional. It was dangerous. I stood frozen in the doorway, staring at my bag. My heart was pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. The room felt suddenly smaller, tighter, like the walls were moving closer to me. I knew one thing for sure. I had not brought that bag back. I slowly stepped inside and looked around. Nothing else looked out of place. The bed was neatly made. The chair was where I left it. The window was closed. But the bag was there. Right in the middle of the bed. Like it had been placed on purpose. Like a message. I didn't touch it at first. I stood there, holding my breath, listening. No footsteps. No voices. Just silence. I locked the door behind me and leaned against it, my legs shaking. Think, I whispered to myself. Just think. I reached for my phone and called Daniel. He answered immediately. Are you safe? I don't know, I said honestly. Someone was in my room. What do you mean? He asked sharply. My bag, I said. The same one from the house. It's here. On my bed. There was a pause on the line. Don't touch anything, Daniel said firmly. Did you lock your door when you left? Yes, I replied. I'm sure I did. Then someone had access, he said. Listen to me carefully. Do not stay there tonight. My stomach tightened. I don't want to run again. This isn't running, he said. This is protecting yourself. I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. I'll come get you, he continued. Pack only what you need. I ended the call and slowly walked toward the bed. I picked up the bag with 2 fingers, like it might bite me. It felt heavier than before. I opened it carefully. Inside were my clothes, my papers, and something new. An envelope. Plain. White. No name. My hands were shaking as I opened it. Inside was a single sheet of paper. 5 words. You should have signed. My breath caught in my throat. This was no longer about pressure. This was a threat. I folded the paper and put it back exactly where it was. I took pictures with my phone. Every angle. Every detail. Then I sat down and waited. When Daniel arrived, his face went tight the moment he saw the envelope. This confirms intent, he said. And intimidation. Can they do this? I asked. Just walk into my space? They shouldn't, he replied. But people who feel cornered don't think clearly. We left immediately. That night, I stayed somewhere they didn't know about. Somewhere quiet. Somewhere safe. Or so I thought. The next morning, my phone started buzzing early. Missed calls. Messages. Voicemails. I didn't open them at first. When I finally did, my chest tightened. You're making this difficult. We just want what's fair. You're hurting everyone. Hurting everyone. The words made me angry. They had locked me out. They had lied to me. They had tried to scare me. And now they wanted to be the victims. Later that day, Daniel called me with urgency in his voice. They're moving fast, he said. They've contacted someone about the house. What does that mean? I asked. It means they're trying to act like owners, he replied. They're pretending you don't exist. My hands clenched into fists. I exist, I said firmly. Yes, Daniel agreed. And now we make sure they can't ignore that. We spent hours going over plans. Legal steps. Safety steps. Boundaries. But deep down, I knew something else was coming. That feeling in my chest wouldn't go away. That evening, I decided to go back to the house. Not alone. Daniel didn't like the idea, but he understood why. I need to see their faces, I said. I need to know how far they're willing to go. When we arrived, the lights were on again. The same house. The same door. But this time, I didn't knock. I unlocked it. The door opened smoothly. The room went silent. Every face turned toward me. Shock. Fear. Anger. You can't just walk in like that, someone snapped. I can, I replied calmly. I live here. Daniel stepped in beside me. We need to talk, he said. The tension was thick. Heavy. You went into her room, Daniel continued. Without permission. Someone laughed nervously. What room? The one where you left her bag, he replied. The laughter stopped. I watched their faces carefully. One of them looked away. Another clenched their jaw. And one person smiled. That smile made my stomach drop. You're imagining things, they said softly. No one touched your stuff. I held up my phone. Then explain this. I showed them the photos. The envelope. The message. The room erupted. That wasn't me. She's lying. You planted that. My heart was racing, but I stayed calm. Why are you so afraid of the truth? I asked quietly. Suddenly, someone stepped forward. You think you're so smart now, they said. But you don't understand what you've started. The way they said it sent a chill down my spine. What do you mean? I asked. They leaned closer. You should have taken the deal, they whispered. Daniel stepped between us immediately. That's enough, he said firmly. But it was too late. I had seen it. The anger. The resentment. The desperation. These were not people ready to talk. These were people ready to do something reckless. As we turned to leave, I felt something brush past my arm. I looked down. A key. It had fallen to the floor. Not just any key. A key I had never seen before. I picked it up slowly. What is this? I asked. No one answered. But every face in that room went pale. And in that moment I knew. There was something else. Another door. Another secret. Another lie. And whatever that key opened, they never wanted me to find it. I will stop here. Because when I used that key, I discovered something that put me in real danger. I held the key in my hand, staring at it. It was old. Heavy. Cold against my skin. This isn't mine, I said slowly. No one spoke. That silence told me everything. Daniel looked at the key, then at the faces in the room. What does it open? He asked. Still no answer. One person finally laughed, but it sounded forced. It's nothing. Just an old spare. A spare to what? I asked. The laughter stopped. I looked around the house carefully. I had been here before, many times in the past. But now, I saw it differently. Like a place full of hidden corners. Hidden truths. "There's a door," I said quietly. My voice made several people stiffen. "There's a door I've never been allowed to open." "That's ridiculous," someone snapped too quickly. I didn't argue. I just walked. The key felt heavier with every step. I moved down the hallway, my heart pounding. Daniel stayed close beside me. No one tried to stop us, but I could feel their fear pressing in on my back. We stopped in front of a door at the end of the hall. A door I remembered very well. It was always locked. "Storage," they used to say. Nothing important. Just old junk. I slid the key into the lock. My hand trembled. "Margaret," Daniel said softly. "Are you sure?" I nodded. "I need to know." I turned the key. Click. The lock opened. The moment I pushed the door open, a strange smell hit my nose. Old paper. Dust. Something stale. The light inside was off. Daniel reached past me and flipped the switch. And I froze. The room was not storage. It was an office. A small desk. Filing cabinets. Shelves stacked with folders. All labeled. With my name. My chest tightened so hard I could barely breathe. "What is this?" I whispered. Daniel walked in slowly, his face serious. "This looks like record keeping." I stepped inside, my legs weak. On the desk were envelopes. Bank letters. Statements. Opened. Read. Sorted. Someone had been watching my life. Controlling it. "Why would you keep this?" I asked aloud. No one answered. I pulled a folder from the shelf and opened it. Inside were copies of my documents. Old forms. Applications. Letters I never remembered receiving. Some were marked with notes written in someone else's handwriting. "She won't notice. She won't ask. Wait until she's desperate." My hands started shaking. "They were planning everything," I whispered. Daniel picked up another folder. "This goes back years. Years." I felt sick. Then I found something worse. A notebook. I opened it slowly. Inside were dates. Plans. Lists. My arrival dates. My financial struggles. My phone calls asking for help. They had written down when I was weakest. I dropped the notebook like it burned my hands. "They were waiting for me to break," I said. Daniel nodded grimly. "This isn't just betrayal. This is control." Suddenly, a voice behind us shouted, "Close that door." I turned. One person stood there, breathing hard, eyes wild. "You had no right," they said. "No right." I shouted back. "You tracked my life." "You should have stayed away," they screamed. Daniel stepped forward. "This room alone is enough to prove criminal intent." The person laughed, sharp and bitter. "You think papers will save you?" That sentence made my stomach drop. "What do you mean?" I asked. Before they could answer, another sound filled the house. A loud bang. From downstairs. Everyone froze. "What was that?" someone whispered. Then another bang. Heavier. Like something being forced open. Daniel grabbed my arm. "We need to leave. Now." "No," I said. "Not yet." I bent down and picked up one last folder from the desk. Inside was something I never expected to see. A copy of a document. With my signature. But I had never signed it. My blood ran cold. "They forged my name," I whispered. The banging downstairs grew louder. Voices followed. More than one. "They're here," someone said nervously. "Who's here?" I asked. No one answered me. Daniel pulled out his phone. "We are not staying." As we turned toward the door, the person blocking it smiled again. You were never supposed to find this room, they said. The lights suddenly went out. The house went dark. Someone screamed. I felt Daniel grab my arm tightly. And in that darkness, I realized something terrifying. Whatever was happening downstairs was not part of the plan. And whoever was coming was not on my side. I will stop here. Because what happened when the lights came back on nearly cost me my life. The darkness felt alive. For a moment, no one moved. No one spoke. The house, once loud with arguments and lies, was now swallowed by silence, broken only by shallow breathing and the pounding of my heart. Then the lights came back on. Not all at once. They flickered. On. Off. On again. In that brief flash of light, I saw fear on every face around me. Real fear. Not the fake kind they used on me. The banging downstairs stopped. That scared me more than the noise ever did. Daniel tightened his grip on my arm. We are leaving. Right now. Before we could move, footsteps echoed from below. Heavy footsteps. More than one person. They're coming up, someone whispered. Who did you call? Another voice hissed. I didn't call anyone, someone shouted back. The lies were falling apart. The footsteps grew louder, slower, deliberate, like whoever was coming wanted us to hear them. I felt cold all over. Get behind me, Daniel said quietly. We backed toward the hallway, but one person stepped in front of us, blocking the way. You can't leave, they said, their voice shaking. My chest burned with anger. You don't get to trap me again. Before they could respond, the footsteps reached the top of the stairs. Two figures appeared. Both strangers. Both wearing dark jackets. One of them spoke. Evening. His voice was calm. Too calm. Who are you? Someone demanded. The man smiled slightly. We're here about the house. My heart dropped. Daniel stepped forward. Any discussion about this property goes through me. The second man laughed. That depends on who owns it. I do, I said firmly. They both turned to look at me. The first man studied my face carefully. You're her. Yes, I replied. And you're trespassing. He smiled wider. That's not what we were told. My stomach twisted. What were you told? I asked. That the owner already agreed to sell, he said. And that tonight was just a formality. Every muscle in my body tensed. That's a lie, I said. I never agreed to anything. The man looked past me, directly at the others in the room. Someone here disagrees, he said. Silence. Then one voice spoke from behind me. We had an understanding. I turned slowly. You told them I agreed? I asked. They didn't meet my eyes. You said you would, they muttered. No, I said sharply. You said I would. Daniel stepped forward again. There is no legal sale. No consent. And certainly no signed documents. The second man pulled out his phone. Funny. Because we were shown something that looks signed. My heart skipped. Show it, Daniel said. The man hesitated, then turned the screen toward us. I felt sick. It was the document I had seen in the hidden room. The one with my forged signature. That is fake, I said, my voice shaking. They forged it. The man raised an eyebrow. That's a serious accusation. It's the truth, I replied. Daniel leaned closer to the phone. That signature does not match her verified records. The men exchanged a look. The first man's smile faded slightly. Then someone has a problem. Yes, Daniel said firmly. And it's not her. The tension in the room grew thick. No one breathed easily anymore. You brought them here, I said, turning back to the person who blocked the door earlier. You were ready to sell my house behind my back. They snapped. You weren't supposed to find out. There it is, I said quietly. The truth. Suddenly, the first man stepped closer to me. You should be careful, he said. Deals like this get messy. Daniel immediately moved between us. Step back. The man held up his hands. Relax. I'm just saying, things can go wrong. That was not a warning. That was a threat. I felt fear crawl up my spine, but I refused to show it. You were hired based on a lie, I said. If you stay, you become part of it. The men hesitated. Then something unexpected happened. A siren. Faint at first. Then louder. Police. Every head snapped toward the window. Who called them? Someone shouted. Daniel didn't answer. The person who had blocked the door earlier looked panicked now. You called the police? Daniel remained calm. After tonight, it would have been irresponsible not to. Chaos broke out. People started talking at once. Shouting. Blaming each other. The two men backed away slowly. We don't want trouble, one of them muttered. We were misled. You were, I said. And now you should leave. They didn't argue. They turned and walked out just as flashing lights filled the room. The police entered moments later. Questions followed. Statements. Confusion. I sat down, exhausted, as everything spilled out. The locked door. The forged papers. The hidden room. The threats. Nothing was hidden anymore. As the officers began separating people and asking questions, one of them approached me gently. Ma'am, he said, there's something else you should know. My heart sank. What? I asked. He lowered his voice. Someone reported concern for your safety earlier today. I looked at Daniel. He shook his head. That wasn't me. My stomach tightened. Then who was it? I asked. The officer hesitated. The report came from inside the house. I turned slowly toward the group. Someone here had known things would get dangerous. Someone had planned for things to go wrong. And suddenly, one question burned in my mind louder than all the others. Were they trying to scare me? Or were they trying to set me up? I will stop here. Because what the police uncovered next changed who I could trust forever. The police officer's words hung in the air. The report came from inside the house. Every sound around me faded. The flashing lights. The murmurs. The shuffling of feet. All I could hear was my own breathing. Someone inside that house had called the police before everything exploded. Meaning someone knew things would turn dangerous. Meaning someone was not just greedy, but afraid. Who made the call? I asked quietly. The officer looked at his notes. We're still confirming that. I slowly stood up. Please, I said. I need to know. He nodded. We'll find out. The police began searching the house more thoroughly. They photographed the hidden room. They collected the forged documents. They took pictures of the notebook filled with my life, written in someone else's handwriting. Every lie was finally being pulled into the light. As the officers moved from room to room, tension rose. People whispered. Some cried. Some shouted that they didn't know anything. But then one officer came down the hallway holding a phone. This was found upstairs, he said. Unlocked. Recent calls. He looked at the screen. And the emergency call came from this device. The room went silent. Whose phone is that? Another officer asked. No one answered. Then a voice broke. Soft. Shaking. It's mine. Everyone turned. The same person who had smiled when I showed the photos. The same person who blocked the door. The same person who whispered, "You should have taken the deal." I made the call, they said. I didn't think it would go this far. My chest tightened. You planned all of this, I said slowly. And then you panicked. They nodded, tears falling. They promised it would be clean. Just papers. Just pressure. You were willing to destroy me, I said, my voice steady, until you realized it could destroy you too. They collapsed into a chair. The officers moved in. From that moment on, everything changed. Statements were taken. People were separated. Some were escorted out. Others stayed behind, silent and broken. By morning, the house felt empty. Not quiet. Empty. Daniel stood beside me as the last officer spoke. "You're safe now," he said. "And this house is legally, unquestionably yours." I looked around the living room one last time. The same room where I was locked out. The same room where my bag was ripped open. The same room where they tried to scare me into giving up my life. But now, it felt different. Lighter. Not because the pain was gone, but because the truth was finally standing. A few weeks later, the house was quiet again. No lies. No secret rooms. No hidden keys. I didn't rush to forgive anyone. Some things don't deserve forgiveness. But I did something more important. I chose myself. I changed the locks. I closed the door behind the past. And for the first time in a very long time, I slept peacefully inside a house that truly felt like mine. Not because I owned it, but because no one could ever lock me out again. And if there's one thing I learned, it's this. Sometimes the door being locked is not rejection. Sometimes it's the moment you finally realize your worth. If this story touched you, if you've ever been made to feel unwanted, ignored, or pushed aside by people you trusted, please like this video. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful, emotional stories. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next one. And tell me in the comments, have you ever had to stand up for yourself when no one else would? Your story matters. You are not alone.